IT budgets, 0 to 2% at best, departmental budgets, and -5 to -10% at worst on average. What does that mean? Well, guess what? Tech spending is up 22% at best and 5% at worst. Where's the money going? Shadow IT. It's going to the business side of the house. That's where you get 125% when you add all these numbers up. Right? There's a lot of spend going, but it's not happening in the traditional IT department in a lot of organizations. Well, there are 4 personas emerging, and when you think about a quadrant, if you think of the top part being external, the bottom part being internal, the right-hand side being tech-savvy, and the left-hand side being business-savvy, we get 4 quadrants. The bottom left-hand side is the Chief Infrastructure Officer. And what that Chief Infrastructure Officer is doing is they're focused on reducing costs. They've got 70–80% of the budget. It's called keeping the lights on, and they're maintenance mode. How do I get the cost structure out? The top left-hand part of the quadrant is really the Chief Integration Officer, and their job is to go out and connect all the different mergers and acquisitions, but more importantly, tie those systems back to new customers, new suppliers, partners, and even different types of employees. On the bottom right-hand side of the quadrant is really a Chief Intelligence Officer. Their job is to figure out how to get the right information to the right person at the right time, on the right security model, and even the right form factor. And so a lot of work is going there, and that's 10 to 15% of the budget. And then when you look at the top right-hand corner, that's the Chief Innovation Officer. Their job is to go out and figure out where all the new stuff is happening. Cloud or SaaS or business innovations or new models, and they're trying and testing out new things working with the business teams. The important thing is there are 4 roles. You play different parts of those roles in parts of your career. And if you're in really large organizations, you see specializations occur in each one of those 4 roles. The bottom, total left-hand side is all about the technology, the traditional IT team. The right-hand side is shadow IT, business-focused areas. And when we looked at the sessions that we had today, everybody is starting out in Chief Infrastructure and they're aspiring to be in Chief Innovation Officer. We could see that with the show of hands. The CIO is changing, and changing a lot because of disruptive technologies, social, mobile, cloud, analytics, and UC. It's changing because of consumerization of IT. People have an expectation that technology will help them in business in a way that hasn't happened before. And the fact that businesses themselves are changing. So the CIO role is moving towards a more business-focused, business-oriented role. We're seeing technology assist business as part of that. And we just talked about CIOs going from a tenure of 9 to 10 years to 3 to 4 years. And the trick is really aligning yourself more with the business, building relationships, understanding what that business does, and being sexy. So there's a constant challenge of figuring out how do I allocate my time to each one of these areas. And so it's just important to think about where you can actually plant people on the business side to understand the IT issues, and where people can learn more about the business side on the IT side, so that at least you can get that communications. When we look at early adopters and those companies that are doing really well in these areas, they have a communication system in place. They have a place to resolve issues. And so they start with these business and IT partnerships, and you don't do them for them. If you do them formally, it's not going to work. You start with one project and you make it a regular practice on all the other projects that you have going afterwards. And that's what we've seen as something that's successful. I'm going to turn to you quickly in terms of tips, and then let's open up to the questions.
I just got to add one point too, that this is really driven, these quads are driven by corporate strategy, associated goals, really. And think about annually how they change.
What about you? Last thoughts?
Last thoughts? Well, we've tried to maintain, from a discipline standpoint, IT and looking into the business side, specifically innovation, is building that into our capability maturity model. And always taking that into account. I know a lot of where we failed at first was looking at it as from a pure IT perspective, but taking the business as you should into account and building them into the process, it starts opening up new avenues of some new paradigms I think that we're going to start seeing as well with resourcing, where your business analysts and your BPM folks are not IT proper. We're moving along that lines, so that's how we're dealing with it, is building in.
So I have a large staff for a company our size, but I have each IT executive on my staff is assigned a business unit to be the advocate of that business unit in IT. And they spend time in their meetings and their planning sessions, and they'll come back and they'll argue for their priorities, they'll argue for their business initiatives amongst in the IT group. And so I make all my people get out into the business and spend time in the business because IT, within ourselves, we couldn't do anything. So it's about the business.
Okay, I would concur with that as well as really know and understand your corporate mission, vision statement. I study that annually. But I also, and this might be surprising, I also read books like The Four Agreements. Because we are in a change management role, it's going to cause, when you change an organization, there's going to be angst, there's going to be anger, there's going to be emotion. And dealing with that and developing people's skills, I think it's very important to learn things like idle skills, change management skills, project management skills, all those soft skills that we tend to think are not very important or extremely important, at least I found, to gain business trust that you can carry a project through completely. And that is aligned with the business.